There can be all kinds of different street teams. You could have a street team for a venue. The artists themselves could have their own street team, and you know, it's just essentially kind of a way to, I hate to put it this way, but they're like kind of the grunts. You know, they're the people on the ground doing the dirty work, and in all reality, if executed correctly, they could be the most important part to the marketing thing itself. Like if I would have had a street team those days, if I would have had the foresight to make something like that, like we would have had an army of people talking about music, organized under a banner. Like that is the strongest form of marketing you could get. There's no internet group that could beat that. You know what I mean? You can't control the amount of ways that these people talk about this stuff. It's just unbridled at that point. So I would argue that it could be the strongest part of your marketing if you do it correctly.
Probably, I think one of the first venues I've ever been to in Michigan. It's the closest one to my house for sure. So I go here probably more than any other venue. So anything I can do to be here more and help out this place is something that I like to do.
I think I joined my sophomore year of high school. So 2014, 2013, yeah, it's been a while.
Been on the street team for about maybe pushing 5 years now. It's 2019. Either late 2013 or late 2014, one of those years.
Personally, I do more media shares than anything else. I used to be heavier on the poster routes, and then school and work kind of deterred me from being able to do that. I think media gets a lot more out there than posters do at the moment, but posters are still a cool way for people to see, look at the shows, especially at record shops.
Well, I knew Sam Leetzen through a mutual friend, family friend, and I've just seen him at every show, so I finally just like went up to him like, hey, like, you know so-and-so, right? Like, I see you at every show, like, I'm Wade, whatever type of thing. So we just got chatting, and he told me to check out the street team. Here I am, 5 years.
Sam Leetzen was a big part of that, and he is someone I met through music in general, so he really pushed me. He was like, hey, this is a really cool thing, I think you might like it, and I joined, and I did, so I'm here now.
So I'm the Crowfoot Street Team Coordinator, and now I'm the Fusion Shows Street Team Coordinator because we combined a couple years ago. And I'm basically in charge of making sure that all, or at least most, of the concerts in the Metro Detroit, Grand Rapids, etc. areas have a Crowfoot Street Teamer at them. And I'm in charge of making sure that we have flyers at all times, we have posters ready to go, we do poster routes throughout the state, making sure that the Crowfoot concerts are always ready to go and people know about them. My buddy was on the street team, and he'd, oh yeah, dude, I got like free tickets, like, do you want to come, like whatever. I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, cool, let's go. And he goes, well, do you want to come to Parkway Drive next week? And I'm like, yeah, like for sure. He's like, yeah, tickets are free on that one too. I was like, wait, like how are we getting all these shows for free? Like, what's going on? And he linked me up, and he showed me like how he's getting free tickets, and basically explained that all you gotta do is hand out these flyers at the end of shows, and like you can get guest list of shows. And so he linked me up with his boss, and his boss, added me on Facebook and got me into the street team, and the rest is history. Now I'm here, and I flyer shows all the time.
If it's cold, no one's going to care. No one cares to. No one's going to take their hands out of their pockets or anything to see what you have, even if it's free or whatever. You definitely got to be personable about it. No one's just going to take something from you for just kind of handing it or leaving your hand there. You got to say like, hey, have a good night, hope you had a good time, and just be personable.
Technically, the street team is the last thing you deal with, in all reality. They're the ones standing at the stairs. They're technically your last interaction as a guest every single time.
If you are passionate about live music, it's such an important thing to get involved in.
Just creating connections with people, getting to know people. Me being a people person, I love just interacting, even small interactions, just having a brief chat makes for a good time and memorable. When people don't want to take a flyer or something, I always kind of like kid around with them, be like, hey, have a good night, like take this flyer. He's like, nah, I'm good. I was like, oh, like you don't want to have a good night, man? Like just dumb jokes like that.
I mean, I do it to have fun, I do it to help out, the Crowfoot. I mean, I love this venue. This is probably I think one of the first venues I've ever been to.
You go to a show, and I've been to sold out shows that, you know, you'd think it's gonna be chaos, and there's none of those kids there. And all it takes is one of those kids to say, screw this, like, let's jump around, let's have some energy, and the whole crowd says, oh, like, this kid's doing it, like, let's do it, like, let's have a good time. And like, all it takes is one or two of those kids to start energy at a show, to start moving, because I think a lot of people at shows are followers, where they're too scared to dance and have a good time until everybody else is, whereas, you know, a lot of those passionate kids are like, this is my favorite song, I'm gonna, like, let's two-step, you know, I'm ready.
The marketing is the whole way that the first half even shows up. You know, what is the artist even there for, to perform if there's no one in the room? I mean, even if there's 10 people, it makes it worth it, but it's obviously about attendance at the end of the day.
You're really immersed within the whole experience of the show, because you've got like them right in front of you, the band, but then you also have the energy from the crowd behind you as well. So it's so cool to feel that energy from like behind you being like projected forward, but then also like feeding off of the band's energy and what they're doing as well is also so much fun.
That's the most important part, in my opinion, is creating something. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter if you didn't write the song. I mean, they couldn't have had the show without you. That's it.
I would say it's the crowd more than the band itself. I would say the crowd has a better time, because if no one's, you know, moshing or stage diving or anything at those shows when the band's doing the best they can, then you're having an okay time. In my opinion, you know, I like being involved in all that stuff. The band's just doing okay and the crowd just going nuts, you know, then that makes for a good time. You know, you get to have fun as well. Seeing the band itself is fun, but to be able to respond in a way in their music is even more fun.
The energy level is super high. Everyone's like super hyped up about everything, and if you get the right crowd at the right show, you experience the show in an entirely different way. Concerts are like my biggest thing that I love to do outside of, you know, hanging out with my friends or just, you know, school and work. It's a good way to release any kind of emotions or energy that I have pent up. So,
and you know, you're hanging out, you're enjoying the show. Head outside of the venue right around the encore time, just hand out flyers, promote.
I'm just trying to show that, like, we work in an industry that allows you to enjoy yourself, and you're allowed to be yourself, and I don't think that should ever take away. So I always encourage my street teamers to have fun at shows and do what they do at shows, and as long as by the end of the night you're standing in front of that entrance handing out flyers, like, I don't care what you do during the show, just don't, you know, you shouldn't be fighting anyone, you shouldn't be doing anything no one else is doing.
I could honestly argue that if you had a strong street team, you might actually have a stronger music scene.
The street team definitely gets you into more shows, like bands, like, well, I don't know if I want to see them a whole ton, but if I'm flyering the show, if I'm on the street team, want to help promote them, yeah, I'll check them out, you know, for the sake of flyering. So that's just led me into seeing so many more bands and loving so many more bands, and bands I wouldn't even heard about, and people I wouldn't have met if I wouldn't have gone to these shows and stuff like that, which has had a huge impact of being in the street team.
I mean, everybody loves being out after dark, right? And these things always start when the sun's up and they end when the sun's down, so I love that. I love that idea that you're almost on a date with that artist.
I mean, I think the street team it really engaged me. There's so much going on behind the scenes that no one even thinks about. I think that getting involved in the team makes you learn so much more about the scene, how things flow, how things work, and like anyone on my street team, I'm happy to like sit down and explain to them how everything works behind the scenes. I would let them, you know, if they want to shadow me a night and see how things go, that's cool too. Like, I think it engages them so much more, and you go to more shows, you go to shows that, you know, you might like the opener, but you're not going to pay $50 for a ticket to see this band play 6 songs. But if your ticket's free, you're like, well, I could go see this band and there's 2 headliners, I'll just stick around, like, why not?
Whether it be bands opening the tour that you've never heard of and just going to check out, and even the headliner at times, when you want to see the opening band, you know, you stay for the headliner because you have the flyer, and you ended up liking the headliner more than the opening band, or vice versa, the opening band more than the headliner who you came for. But evolved music taste since joining the street team for sure.
Like, me standing in the back, that's not a show for me. Like, part of the show is crowd surfing and moshing and running up and grabbing that microphone. Now I'm the leader, and I have kids. I always tell kids, like, have fun at shows. Like, don't change how you are at a show. Like, obviously, I don't want you like doing anything you shouldn't be doing. Like, if there's a barricade, you shouldn't be jumping on stage. Like, you shouldn't be doing anything no one else is doing. But like, if there's no barricade and kids are jumping off the stage, like, go nuts.
A lot of people call it dumb, like moshing and whatever, because they're like, oh, you're just pushing everyone around, you're just punching each other. But I think it's just part of the culture, and that's how it's always been, and I don't think it's going to change, and I think it's a really cool part of it.
People are just expressing themselves in a very aggressive way, and they're not necessarily trying to hurt anyone. It's just an aggressive release. If you fall, you'll see 6 people there ready to pick you up. There's some, heavier, meaner shows where I've seen people like, two-stepping and throwing their fists, and some kid gets knocked out and the whole show stops just to make sure this kid's okay. I think that even though they look like they're trying to hurt each other, they don't want them to be hurt. It's just part of the show, and like, I think that's a big thing people misunderstand, is that no one's there to hurt anyone. It's a release, and it's really one of those things you have to experience.
There's a big emotional connection to it. I think it's completely different than just sitting in your room and listening. Obviously, you can experience a different emotional feeling when you're listening to it by yourself in your room or in your car, wherever it may be. But going to a live show and hearing that music be performed to a room full of people it's awesome. Like you like myself, I know that I tend to get very emotional at shows. Sometimes I do cry to certain bands, and that's fine. Everyone has their own thing.
I think that we do it because we're so passionate about the music. Like, it's something inside of us that, like, you can't stand still at a show, and I think that it's the passion for the music that you have to be there. And I think that relates into those kids. It's not just physical energy, they care so much about the scene and they care so much about the music that they'll do anything to be deeper into it. And so they get involved in the street team, which, like, they're always going to be like, dude, like, what's the next show? Like, where are we going? This is my show schedule for the next 2 months. Like, I think that's why it draws them in, is they're all so passionate about the music.
I've just met so many people through the community of music that have brought me really good relationships that have lasted years. There's people, even from the street team, that I've known long before the street team, and I didn't know that they were on it, but now that we're on this street team together, it's also a stronger connection, and we see each other at shows constantly, and it builds our relationship, and it's a lifelong friendship that I will definitely always cherish.
We all know each other, we're all friends. Like, Wade's my best friend, and I met him through the street team. And I have lots of other friends I met on the street team. We have, like, twice a year we'll have gatherings where, like, everyone comes up and we eat food and we hang out and we play video games, and, like, we get to know each other, because I think that's so important. It's kind of like, I think it's a very important thing for your street teamers to know each other. So it's a really cool way to make new friends, really cool way to just meet new people in the scene and network. I don't know, super rad. I think it's something that everyone passionate about music should give a shot. It's just a cool thing to be a part of.
But that's what I like. I mean, it's something that I've always wanted to get into since, like, throughout high school, and now I'm finally doing it, which is fun.
Those are real music lovers who are taking that next step to be involved in the community, in their scene, and want to make a difference in hopefully positive ways. It seems like you're a role model at these venues when you're on the part of the street team.
There's an artist inside of all of us, and I think when you go out to shows and stuff, you can like watch the show or look at the painting, and I challenge you to look at that artist in yourself and see if you can see yourself doing that. Because if it takes joining a street team to maybe find even the smallest form of that individual in yourself, it's important. It's important to see it, important to feel it. It's a part of life, no question.